All right, we're going to keep moving forward here with talking about classes, but we're now going to specify that we're going to be talking about methods, which are basically just functions that are inside of a class. So I'm going to keep this dog example here, and where we've even created a new dog object. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new function to this dog class, and anytime you have a function in a class, it's considered a method. Now the naming on this, I don't think it's all that important. Like, you could always just refer to them as functions, but technically it's considered a method if it's ever inside of a class. But no need to go crazy about this, because if we're going to make a function, we still call it func like this. It's not like we say meth for a method, and you probably don't want to program language that has meth for one of its keywords. Anyways, you can just create functions inside of a class, and they're called methods. So let's go ahead and make a function here, a really simple one that we're just going to call bark. The whole purpose of this function is it's just going to print out basically the words woof woof. Okay, so this is a very simple example here. I'm just going to say woof woof, and this is our very first method. So all this is, again, is a function inside of this class called bark, and it's going to print out woof woof. Now with this function, it's not just any old regular function that we can call anywhere, right? Because usually if we make a function, I could come down somewhere and say I want to call bark with the parentheses and run that code. I'm going to call that function. Well, you can't do that. If it's inside of a class, you can only call the function or the method on an object of that class. So for example, after I've created a dog, like dog1 here, I can go ahead and say dog1.bark. You see that's one of my autocomplete options there. And now when I do this, all of a sudden down below, I'm going to get woof woof. Assume I will. There we go. Xcode caught up with me, and all of a sudden it shows woof woof, and I can call this as many times as I want on dog1, and it's always going to show up here. And so we'll see that we get woof woof 3 different times. Look at that. Pretty cool. Okay, so just know when you make a function inside of a class, it's called a method, and you can only call it on an object that you've made from that class. Now, these methods can get a lot cooler than just do something like, woof woof. For example, we can make a function that tells us some information about the dog. And so, if we go ahead and make a function here that I maybe call like dog info, and I'm not going to necessarily have it return anything. You could if you wanted to, but what I want to have this function do is actually use some of the properties to tell us about this dog. So I'm going to eventually print out a string that tells us about this dog, something like this dog is Fido, it is 4 years old and has brown fur, something like that. So on a particular dog, if you said dog1 dog info, all of a sudden it's going to print out this little string that we have here. But rather than just have it always arbitrarily print out that information, let's have it refer to the properties. And it's as simple as this. It's just, instead of saying Fido, we do that cool little backslash in the parentheses for string interpolation, and we'll just say, I want the name inside of there. And that's it. All of a sudden this name is going to appear. Instead of the number 4, you guessed it, we put the age inside of there. Instead of brown, we're going to have this be fur color, just like that. And now all of the sudden here, this function here, dog info, that's going to tell us about this particular dog, it spits out Fido 6 and brown fur. If I change this to green fur here and I go ahead and run this one more time, all of a sudden this now is going to say green fur. So it's pretty cool. You can see that this method is referring to whatever these properties are set to in a particular object. And if we have a separate dog here, so I'm going to make a new dog called my dog, and let's go ahead and make this equal to a new dog object, and I'm going to have my dog dot name be equal to Sean, and my dog dot age is going to be equal to 34. And my dog dot fur color is going to be equal to tan. Okay, so with this all in place, if I say my dog dog info. You can see we've got, we've printed out the info for dog 1 here for Fido. But look, if I do dog info on my dog, it's customized for that particular dog. This is a really important concept to grasp, is that whenever you make new objects from a class, like those objects are independent of each other. Like changing the name, the age, the fur color here is not going to change anything inside of that dog. We just know that they all have the same properties here. Okay. So hopefully this all made sense to you. What I have as a challenge for you is I want you to create a new method here. So I want you to create a new method that doubles the dog's age. Okay. So this is going to be a little bit tricky because you're editing a property here, but I want you to create a new method in this dog class that is going to double the dog's age. Okay. Go ahead, hit pause, do that now. All right, hopefully that went well for you. So all we've got to do here is create a new function that I'm going to call double. And what we should do inside of here is say age is equal to age times 2. So you'll notice here, for example, with dog 1, if right before we do dog info here, if I say dog1 dot double, and then we call dog info here, look at that. This dog is Fido and it is 12 years old. And see, that's doubled from there. If we want to double it again, we can go ahead and say dog1 dot double one more time. And if we do this, look at that. Now it's 24 years old. Yeah, for fun, let's go ahead and run this one more, see what we get. All of a sudden, kaboom, 48 years old. Now we're getting old in dog years here. Okay, great. Now that you've got this, we're going to go apply this practically to our Joke Bank app. Let's go ahead and pick that up in the next one.